Chapter 8 of the Devi Mahatmyam, the Slaying of Raktabija. The seer said, after Chanda was killed, Munda slain, and the vast armies annihilated, the lord of asuras burned with rage, his reason overcome. Shumba ordered the marshalling of all the demon hosts. Now let the Daitya clans with all their troops go forth, the 86 Udayudas and the 84 Kambu families, together with their forces. Let the 50 Kotviryas families and the 100 Damra clans depart at my command. So also at my command let the Kalaka, Darudra, Maurya, and Kalakeya asuras set out in haste armed for battle. Having issued his orders, Shumba, the despotic lord of asuras, went forth attended by many thousands of mighty troops. Seeing that most formidable army approach, Chandika filled the space between earth and sky with the resonance of her bowstring. Thereupon her lion emitted a deafening roar, O king, and Ambika heightened the noise with her clanging bell. Kali drowned out the din of bowstring, lion, and bell, filling every direction with terrifying howls from her gaping mouth. Hearing the tumult, the enraged demon armies closed in on the Devi, her lion, and Kali from all four sides. O king, at that very moment, to ensure the well-being of the supreme gods and to annihilate their adversaries, surpassingly brave and powerful, Shaktis, the gods' embodied powers, sprang forth from the bodies of Brahma, Shiva, Skanda, Vishnu, and Indra, mirroring the form of each. They approached Chandika. Whatever that god's form was, whatever his adornments and his mount, in that very form his Shakti went forth to combat the Asuras. In a celestial chariot drawn by swans, Brahma's Shakti came forth with prayer beads and water pot in hand. She is called Brahmani. Mahashivari arrived astride a bull, holding the finest trident, wearing great serpents for bracelets and adorned with the crescent moon. Ambika, having the war god's form and riding a fine peacock, came forth as Kumari, with spear in hand to fight against the Daityas. Likewise the Shakti Vaishnavi, mounted on Garud, approached holding a conch, discus, mace, club, bow, and sword. The Shakti of Hari, who bears the unique form of the sacrificial boar, came forth as Varahi in that boar-like aspect. Narashimhi, resembling Vishnu's embodiment as a man-lion, arrived there, scattering the constellations with the toss of her mane. Thousand-eyed like Indra, and in like manner with thunderbolt in hand, Indri arrived riding on the lord of elephants. Then Shiva, surrounded by those Shaktis of the gods, said to Chandika, let the Asuras quickly be slain for my satisfaction. Thereupon, from the Devi's body, there issued forth Chandika's own terrifying Shakti, savage in her fury and howling like 100 jackals. And she, the unvanquished one, said to Shiva of dark matted locks, go, my lord, as my messenger to Shumba and Nishumba. Say to those two arrogant Danavas, Shumba and Nishumba, and to the other Danavas assembled there for battle, Indra must regain the three worlds. The gods must again enjoy the sacrificial oblations, and you must return to the netherworld if you wish to live. But if through the conceit of strength you are desirous of battle, then come and let my jackals be satiated with your flesh. Since the Devi appointed Shiva himself as messenger, she has come to be known in this world as Shiva Duti. Hearing Shiva declare the Devi's words, the great Asuras were filled with indignation and went to where Katyayani stood. At the outbreak of battle, the gods' adversaries, arrogant in their anger, rained torrents of arrows, spears, and lances upon the Devi. And she, with great arrows shot from her resounding bow, playfully split asunder their hurtling arrows, lances, spears, and axes. Kali roamed about the battlefront, slashing her enemies to shreds with her spear, and crushing them with her skull-top staff. And Brahmani, wherever she went, left her enemies sapped of strength, disabled by the holy water sprinkled from her water pot. Mahashivari slew the Daityas with her trident. So too did Vaishnavi with her discus, Kumari with her spear, and the wrathful Indri with her thunderbolt. Daityas and Danavas, torn asunder, fell by the hundreds, discharging torrents of blood upon the earth. They fell scattered by blows from Varahi's boar-like snout, pierced through the chest by her tusks, and ripped apart by her discus. Narashimi, tearing other great Asuras apart with her claws and devouring them, roamed about the battlefield, filling the sky with her roars. Dazed by Shiva Duti's violent laughter, the Asuras fell to the ground, and she devoured those fallen ones. When the enemy troops saw the enraged band of mothers crushing the mighty Asuras by diverse means, they fled. Seeing the remaining Daityas flee, tormented thus by the band of mothers, the great Asura Raktabija went forth in anger to do battle. Whenever a drop of blood fell from his body to the ground, an asura of like measure would rise up from the earth. With club in hand, the great asura fought with Indra Shakti. Then Aindri struck Raktabija with her thunderbolt. Blood streamed in torrents from the stricken asura, and from that blood rose up warriors of identical form and might. As many drops of blood fell from his body, so many beings of equal valor, strength, and courage arose, and those who sprang up from his blood battled there with the mothers ever more fiercely, hurling the most formidable of weapons. When the Devi's thunderbolt struck Raktabija's head, blood flowed again, and from it asuras were born by the thousands. In the combat, Vaishnavi attacked the Lord of Asuras with her discus, and Aindri beat him with her mace. Blood flowed from the cuts of Vaishnavi's discus, and thereupon great asuras of equal measure arose by the thousands and filled the world. Kumari with her spear, Varahi with her sword, and Mahashavati with her trident struck the great asura Raktabija, and he, the mighty rage-filled Daitya, struck all the mothers one by one with his club. Out of the blood that streamed upon the earth from the relentless wounds of spear, lance, and other weapons, asuras sprang up by the hundreds, and those demons born from this one demon's flowing blood pervaded all the world. Utter terror seized the gods. Chandika burst into laughter at their despair and said to Kali, "O Chamunda, open wide your mouth and quickly drink in the drops of blood from my weapon's blows and the great asuras born therefrom. Roam about on the battlefield and devour the great demons sprung from Raktabija. So shall this Daitya, drained of blood, go to his destruction. As you consume those fierce asuras, others shall not arise." Having spoken thus, the Devi attacked Raktabija with her lance. While Kali avidly lapped up his blood, Raktabija turned upon Chandika with his club. But his cudgel blows caused her not even the slightest pain. From his beaten body, blood flowed copiously in every direction, and Chamunda engulfed it within her mouth. And within her mouth, those great asuras who sprang into being from the flow, those she now devoured even while drinking Raktabija's blood. The Devi assailed Raktabija with lance, thunderbolt, arrows, swords, and spears, while Chamunda drank his blood. O king, battered by that array of weapons and drained of blood, the great asura Raktabija toppled to the ground. The gods attained immeasurable joy, O king, and the band of mothers born from them danced about, intoxicated with blood. Chapter 9. The Slaying of Nishumba. The king said, "Wonderful is this, revered sir, that you have told me about the Devi's glorious deeds in slaying Raktabija. I wish to hear more about what Shumba and the wrathful Nishumba did after Raktabija was killed." The seer said, "After Raktabija was killed and the others slain in battle, Shumba and Nishumba fell into unparalleled rage. Seeing that his mighty army was being slaughtered, Nishumba was overcome with fury and rushed forward with the best of his demon forces. In front of him, behind him, and on both sides, great asuras, their lips compressed in anger, advanced to slay the Devi. Having battled the mother, Shumba, mighty in valor and surrounded by his forces, came forward in fury to attack the Devi. Fierce fighting erupted between them, and like two thunderclouds, Shumba and Nishumba rained down torrents of arrows on the Devi. Chandika intercepted them with her own volley of arrows, and struck the demon chiefs in the limbs with a stream of weapons. Nishumba, seizing his sharpened spear and shining shield, struck the lion, the Devi's magnificent mount, on the head. Her lion assaulted, the Devi swiftly cut through Nishumba's superb sword with her razor-sharp arrow, and through his shield emblazoned with 8 moons. His shield and sword broken, the asura hurled his spear, and it came toward her that too the Devi cut in half with her discus. Blustering with rage, the Danava Nishumba seized his lance, and as it came flying, the Devi crushed it with a blow of her fist. Then seizing his club, Nishumba flung it at Chandika. The Devi's trident reduced it to ashes. After wounding the onrushing demon chief with axe in hand, the Devi forced him to the ground with a volley of arrows. When he saw Nishumba, his brother of fearsome strength, lying fallen on the ground, Shumba moved forward greatly enraged to slay Ambika. Standing in his chariot and holding aloft magnificent weapons, he shone forth and filled the entire sky with his 8 incomparable arms. While she watched him approach, the Devi sounded her conch, set off an unbearable reverberation with her bowstring, and filled the firmament with the ringing of her bell, which sapped the strength of the assembled demon armies. Then the lion filled every direction with great roars that caused even the elephant's mighty prowess to falter. Kali sprang skyward and alighted, pounding the earth with her 2 hands. The noise drowned out all the previous sounds. Shiva Duti laughed loudly and menacingly. While the asuras grew terrified at the sound, Shumba flew into a monstrous rage. Ambika cried out for him, that evil-natured one, to stop, and the gods cheered her on to victory from their positions in the sky. But Shumba approached and hurled a fearsome flaming spear, an oncoming mass of fire that the Devi's own firebrand warded off. Shumba's leonine roar pervaded the space between heaven, earth, and the netherworld, but the Devi's violent thunderclap drowned it out, O king. The Devi split Shumba's flying arrows with sharp arrows of her own, and likewise he split hers, each discharging arrows by the hundreds and thousands. Then the enraged Chandika pierced Shumba with her lance. Wounded, he fainted and fell to the ground. Meanwhile, Nishumba, regaining consciousness, seized his bow and shot arrows at the Devi, Kali, and the lion. And then, creating 10,000 arms for himself, the Daitya chief, that son of Diti, engulfed Chandika with 10,000 discuses. Thus provoked the glorious Durga, who destroys adversity and afflictions, cut through his discuses with missiles with arrows of her own. Nishumba, surrounded by his demon army, swiftly seized his club and rushed at Chandika to kill her. Instantly she split the onrushing Nishumba's club with her keen-edged sword. He grasped his lance, and as he approached with weapon in hand, Chandika pierced him, the afflictor of the gods, through the heart with a swiftly hurled spear. From his heart's gaping womb came forth another mighty and valorous being, who shouted for the Devi to stop. Bursting into derisive laughter, she severed his head with her sword, and the figure who had thus emerged fell to the ground. The lion then devoured the asuras whose necks it had crushed with its fearsome fangs, while Kali and Shiva Duti devoured others. Great asuras perished, pierced through by Kumari's spear. Others shrank away from the water sanctified by Brahmani's mantras. Others fell, ripped open by Mahashiva's trident. Some lay on the ground, smashed by the blows of Varahi's snout. Danavas were cut to pieces, some by Vaishnavi's discus, and others by the thunderbolt discharged from Indri's fingertips. Some asuras perished, some fled from the great battle, and others were devoured by Kali, Shivaduti, and the lion. Chapter 10. The Slaying of Shumba. The seer said, seeing the lifeless body of Nishumba, the brother who was as dear to him as life itself, and seeing his forces being slaughtered, the enraged Shumba spoke these words, O Durga, who are corrupt with the arrogance of power, do not show your pride here, for though you are haughty, you fight depending on the strength of others. The Devi said, I am alone here in the world. Who else is there besides me? Behold, O vile one, these are but projections of my own power, now entering back into me. Thereupon all the goddesses, led by Brahmani, merged into the Devi's body. Then Ambika alone remained. The Devi said, I have now withdrawn the many forms I inhabited here. Projected by my power, I stand alone. Be resolute in combat. The seer said, then a horrific battle broke out between the two of them, the Devi and Shumba, while all the gods and asuras looked on. With showers of arrows, sharp weapons, and terrifying missiles, the two met again in combat that frightened all the world. The wondrous weapons that Ambika now unleashed by the hundreds, the Daitya chiefs deflected with defensive strikes, and the magic missiles that he hurled, the supreme Devi shattered playfully with fierce cries of contempt. Then the Asura covered her with hundreds of arrows, provoked the Devi discharged her arrows, and split his bow. His bow broken, the Daitya chief took up his spear, but even as it rested in his hand, the Devi cut through it with her discus. Then, grasping his sword, emblazoned with 100 moons, the supreme lord of the Daityas rushed at the Devi. As he advanced, Chandika broke his sword with sharp arrows shot from her bow, and also his shield that shone as the sun's rays. His steed slain, his bow broken, his chariot wrecked, the Daitya grasped his fearsome mace, intent on destroying Ambika. With sharp arrows she shattered the onrushing Shumba's mace. Still he rushed at her with fist upraised. The Daitya chief slammed his fist down on the Devi's heart, and she struck him on the chest with her palm. Struck by that blow, the demon king fell to the ground. At once he rose up again, and springing upward, he seized the Devi and ascended high into the sky. There in midair, Chandika battled with him. In the sky, the Daitya and Chandika fought hand to hand as never before, to the astonishment of saints and sages. And after a prolonged combat, Ambika snatched him up, swung him around, and flung him to the earth. Striking the ground, the evil one immediately raised his fist and ran forward, desirous of destroying Ambika. The Devi thrust her spear through his chest and threw that onrushing lord of all demonic creatures to the ground. Pierced through by the Devi's weapon, his life breath gone, he fell to the ground, shaking all the earth, together with its oceans, islands, and mountains. When the evil one was slain, all the universe became calm, regaining its natural order, and the sky cleared. The flaming clouds of portent that formerly gathered now subsided, and rivers again flowed among their courses, when Shumba fell slain. All the hosts of gods were overjoyed when he lay slain, and the celestial musicians sang sweetly. Others sounded their instruments, and throngs of heavenly nymphs danced. Favorable winds blew and the sun shone in glory. The sacred fires glowed peacefully, and the sounds born of the four directions faded away.